They say you never truly know someone until they're gone. My grandfather was a quiet man. He collected stamps. He drank Earl Grey tea. He never raised his voice. But when we found the safe bolted to the concrete floor of his basement, underneath a rug he hadn't moved in 20 years, I realised I didn't know him at all. And now that I've seen what was inside, I wish I could forget him. I've been trying to write this down for a few days. I keep stopping, deleting, and then rewriting it. I'm not a dramatic person. I don't post stories online. I don't even have social media, except for a dead Facebook account that I only keep because my aunt tags me in birthday photos. So please understand that I'm not doing this for attention. I'm doing it because I need someone to tell me I'm wrong, that I misinterpreted everything, that grief is making me see patterns that aren't there. Because if I'm not wrong, then I've made a mistake I can't undo. My grandfather, like I said, was boring. Comfortingly boring. He wore the same brown cardigan every winter. He read the newspaper with a magnifying glass, even though he didn't need it. He hummed tunelessly when he cooked oatmeal. He was the kind of man you forget's in the room because he never interrupts, never complains, and never demands anything. He lived alone after my grandmother died. I visited him every other Sunday. We'd drink tea, talk about nothing, and he'd show me whatever new stamp he'd acquired. He had this whole binder of them, arranged by country. He'd flip through the pages with this gentle pride, like he was showing me baby photos. I thought that was the extent of his secrets, a stamp collection, maybe a few old love letters tucked in a drawer, the usual sentimental clutter. But when he passed, and we started clearing out his house, we found the rug. It was in the basement, which already felt wrong. He never used the basement. He said the stairs hurt his knees. The only time I'd ever seen him down there was when the water heater broke in 2014. So why was there a rug? A big, heavy, patterned rug that didn't match anything else in the house. We rolled it back, and there it was. A safe. Not a modern one. This thing looks like it belonged in a bank vault from the 1940s. Thick steel. A wheel lock. Bolted directly into the concrete foundation. The bolts were rusted over, like they'd been there since the house was built. My cousin joked that maybe Grandpa had been a secret millionaire, but we all knew better. He lived off a modest pension. He clipped coupons. He reused tea bags. He once scolded me for throwing a jar away because glass lasts forever. So why did he need a safe that could survive a bomb? We tried the obvious things first, checking drawers for a key, looking behind picture frames, searching his desk. Nothing. My aunt suggested we call a locksmith. That's when things got strange. The first locksmith we called came down the basement stairs, took one look at the safe, and just said, "Nope." Just like that. He didn't even touch it. My uncle asked him what the problem was. The locksmith just shook his head and muttered something about bad metal and not worth the trouble. He practically ran back up the stairs. I still remember the way he kept wiping his hands on his jeans, like he touched something dirty, even though he hadn't touched anything at all. We called another locksmith. This one actually approached the safe. He knelt down, put his ear to the door, and then jerked back like he'd been shocked. "Is something inside?" he asked. We all exchanged looks. "We don't know," my aunt said. "It's our father's. We just want to open it." The locksmith frowned. "There's a smell, a strange one." We didn't smell anything. The basement just smelled like dust and old paint. But the locksmith insisted. He said something was wrong with the lock mechanism, that it wasn't sitting right. He plain refused to work on it. After he left, my uncle crouched down and sniffed the keyhole. "Just smells like metal," he said. "What the hell was he talking about?" I should have walked away then. I should have said, "Let's leave it, it's not worth it." But curiosity is a stupid, hungry thing. And grief makes you reckless. You start thinking that maybe the dead left you something meaningful. Something that explains who they were. So, we decided to open it ourselves. My uncle borrowed a drill from his neighbour, the kind used for construction work, industrial strength. He said it would take a while, but it was doable. We took turns drilling into the lock. The sound was awful, high-pitched and metallic, like the safe was screaming. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's honestly what it felt like. Every time the drill bit hit the steel, the vibration travelled up my arms and into my teeth. At one point, the drill bit snapped, just snapped clean off. My uncle cursed and went to get another one. I remember rubbing my hands together because they felt numb, like I'd been holding something cold. We drilled for hours. The metal groaned. The wheel lock shuddered. Finally, sometime around dusk, there was a click. You often think it will be some dramatic noise like you see in the movies, but this wasn't. It was just a very soft click. The kind of sound you hear when someone opens a door very slowly. We all froze. My uncle pulled the door open. Inside was darkness, as you'd expect, but not the normal kind. This felt like it had substance, like treacle. Like the air inside the safe was heavier than the air outside. I know that doesn't make sense. I'm just telling you how it felt. We shone a flashlight inside. There were 3 things: a folded map, a stack of Polaroids, and a journal. That was it. Again, in the movies, you always expect to see gleaming bars of gold and huge diamonds, but no such luck. All we saw were just those 3 items. My aunt unfolded the map first. It was a map of our town from 1980, the kind you'd get from a gas station. But someone, my grandfather presumably, had marked dozens of red X's all over it. Some were clustered near the woods, some near the river, some right in the middle of residential neighbourhoods. My uncle jokes that maybe Grandpa had been hunting for buried treasure, but his voice sounded scared. Then we looked at the Polaroids. There were maybe 30 of them, all faded, all showing faces, some smiling, some not. Some were driver's licenses instead of photos. All of them had names written on the back. I recognised 2 of the names. They were people who had gone missing when I was a kid. Local news stories that I remembered seeing on TV. There were candlelight vigils. I still remember the faded posters stapled to telephone poles as I walked home from school. "Oh my God," my aunt whispered. "This has to be a mistake," my uncle said. I didn't say anything. I was staring at the journal. It was small, leather-bound. The cover was cracked and the pages were yellowed. My grandfather's handwriting was on the first page. I recognised it immediately. He wrote in this neat, looping script, like someone who had learned penmanship in the 1950s. But the first sentence didn't make sense. Day 1. Feeding successful. I read it out loud. My aunt told me to stop. My uncle told her to calm down. I kept reading. I realised the journal wasn't a confession. It wasn't about killing anyone. It was some kind of logbook. A record of dates, times, locations, and something he called the hunger. He wrote things like this. The hunger is quiet today. Fed it near the river. It prefers the river. It mimics the girl's voice again. I told it to stop. It knows I'm getting old. I felt sick. I kept flipping the pages, but the entries got stranger. It tried to leave last night, scratching at the door. I reinforced the hinges. It hates the cold. The cold slows it. It asked me to let it out. It promised to be good. My aunt was crying. My uncle was pacing. I kept reading because I couldn't stop. Near the end of the journal, the entries became frantic. It knows I'm dying. It knows the safe won't hold forever. Someone must take my place. If it gets out, follow the map. The X's mark where it fed. It always returns to where it fed. Do not open the safe. That last line was underlined 3 times. I closed the journal. We all sat there in silence. My uncle finally said, "This is bullcrap. He was old, he was confused." But my grandfather wasn't confused. He was razor sharp until the day he died. He did crossword puzzles in pen. He remembered everyone's birthdays. He never forgot anything. My aunt said we should call the police, but my uncle said absolutely not. He said they'd think Grandpa was a serial killer, that they'd dig up the yard, that they'd drag the family name through the mud. I didn't say anything. I was listening. Because somewhere above us, on the first floor of the house, I heard a sound. Not a howl or anything like that, but just a very subtle tapping resonating through the ceiling, like fingernails on wood. My aunt heard it too. She grabbed my arm in a panic. "What is that?" My uncle said it was the house settling, but houses don't settle like that. This had a strange pattern to it. I remembered a line from the journal. It taps when it's hungry. I told my uncle we needed to leave, now. He said I was being ridiculous. I didn't argue with him. I just walked up the stairs. My aunt followed me. My uncle stayed behind for a moment, muttering to himself. When we reached the first floor, the tapping stopped. The house was silent. But you must have encountered this before, when it almost sounds too silent, like that moment before a big jump scare in a horror movie. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like there was an odd filter on this room. Like the brightness or saturation had been dialed down a few notches. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it felt like. My breath also began to mist up in front of my face. That didn't make sense either. It was late spring. My uncle came up the stairs, carrying the journal. "We're taking this," he said. "We'll figure it out later." I didn't want to take it. I didn't want anything to do with it. but he shoved it into my hands. "You're the responsible one," he said. "You keep it." I should have refused. I should have thrown it back into the safe and welded the door shut. But I didn't. I put it in my backpack. We left the house and swiftly locked the door. Our tires skidded as we drove away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the tapping in my head. I kept seeing the red X's on the map. I kept thinking about the Polaroids, the faces, the names. Around 2 a.m, I heard something in my hallway, like someone was pulling their fingers along the wall. My house is detached. I don't have any neighbours who I can hear through paper-thin walls. It's just me. I froze. I didn't get out of bed. I didn't open the door. I just lay there, listening. The sound stopped. I told myself it was the house settling, like my uncle said, or a mouse, or my imagination. But the next morning, when I left my room, I saw faint scratch marks on the wall. 5 parallel lines, like fingernails. I checked my backpack. The journal was warm. Not hot, just warm, like someone had been holding it. I don't know why I'm writing all of this. Maybe because I need someone to tell me I'm losing my mind, that grief is making me see things, that the journal is just the ramblings of an old man. But last night, I read the very final entry again. If you hear it, do not answer. It will sound like someone you know. It will sound like someone you love. It will sound hungry. And tonight, just a few minutes ago, I heard a voice outside my bedroom door. It sounded like my grandfather. He's been dead for 3 weeks. He said my name. He said he was cold. He said he was hungry. I'm not opening the door, but I think the safe wasn't keeping something locked away. I think it was keeping something asleep. And now it's awake, and it knows my name. And I don't know how to put it back.